Welcome back. Joel Goldsmith revealed a mystical secret that transforms how we recognize truth. When Jesus said, "By their fruits you shall know them," he was not giving moral advice. He was revealing the ultimate spiritual test. This teaching bypasses religious confusion and doctrinal arguments. It cuts straight to what actually works in consciousness. The fruits are not just good deeds or kind words. They are demonstrations of spiritual power in your actual life. Most people use this teaching to judge others. They evaluate teachers, movements, and beliefs from the outside. But Joel understood the deeper mystery. This principle is primarily for evaluating your own spiritual practice. Are your prayers producing fruits? Is your meditation bringing tangible peace? Does your spiritual understanding actually heal your life? These are the questions that matter. The fruits reveal whether you have touched reality or merely collected religious concepts. When you apply this test honestly, everything changes. You stop defending beliefs that produce no results. You release practices that leave you unchanged. You become ruthlessly committed to what actually demonstrates divine presence. This is not about perfection. It is about authentic spiritual power manifesting as real transformation. The tree is known by its fruits, and your consciousness is known by what it produces in your experience. Joel taught that false spirituality always promises fruits it cannot deliver. Religious systems offer salvation, healing, and abundance, but leave seekers empty. They provide elaborate explanations for why the fruits never appear. They blame your faith, your worthiness, or timing. But Joel cut through these excuses. If the tree produces no fruit after reasonable time and sincere effort, it is the wrong tree. You are not the failure. The teaching itself lacks spiritual power. This realization liberates you from spiritual guilt. Many seekers blame themselves when prayers go unanswered. They assume they are not good enough, faithful enough, or pure enough. Joel revealed this is backwards. The teaching should empower you, not diminish you. A true spiritual principle works when properly understood and applied. If it consistently fails, question the principle, not yourself. This is revolutionary thinking in religious circles. The fruits Joel speaks of are specific and measurable. Inner peace that remains during chaos. Physical healing that medical science confirms. Relationships that transform from conflict to harmony. Financial demonstration that meets real needs. Creative inspiration that flows naturally. These are not vague feelings, they are concrete changes in your actual circumstances. By their fruits you shall know them means results you can see, touch, and experience. Joel discovered this principle through his own spiritual journey. He studied every major religion and mystical path. He practiced their techniques faithfully, but he evaluated each by its fruits in his consciousness. Some produced temporary emotional highs. Others generated interesting intellectual concepts, but only certain practices consistently demonstrated divine power. These became the foundation of his teaching. He kept what worked and released what did not. This scientific approach to spirituality shocked traditional believers. They thought faith meant accepting doctrines without question. Joel taught the opposite. True faith tests everything and holds fast to what proves itself through demonstration. He would say a teaching might be ancient, respected, and believed by millions. If it produces no fruits in your experience, it holds no truth for you. This is not disrespect, it is spiritual honesty. The power of this approach is immediate. You stop wasting years on practices that lead nowhere. You recognize genuine spiritual teachers by the fruits in their students' lives. Not by their credentials, their popularity, or their eloquence, but by whether their students demonstrate healing, peace, and spiritual power. The standard eliminates spiritual confusion. It gives you a reliable compass for your journey. The truth proves itself through fruits. Joel warned that many confuse emotional experiences with spiritual fruits. A powerful sermon might move you to tears. A worship service might generate euphoria. A meditation might produce visions and sensations. But these are not the fruits Jesus referenced. Emotions fade. Visions pass. The true test comes in daily life. Does your spiritual practice make you more patient with difficult people? Does it heal your fearful thoughts? Does it demonstrate supply when needs arise? The fruits are sustained changes in consciousness that produce sustained changes in experience. A person might feel inspired during a retreat but return home unchanged. That inspiration bore no fruit. Another person might have a quiet realization that permanently shifts how they see themselves. That realization bears continuous fruit. Joel taught us to distinguish between temporary spiritual excitement and actual transformation. One feels dramatic but disappears. The other feels subtle but remains. This teaching protects you from spiritual deception. Charismatic teachers can generate powerful emotions. Elaborate rituals can create impressive experiences, but by their fruits you shall know them. Does the teaching produce students who demonstrate consistent spiritual power, or does it produce dependency, confusion, and unchanged lives? The fruits never lie. They reveal the reality behind the appearance. Let me share how this principle transformed Elizabeth's spiritual life. She had studied with various teachers for 15 years. She collected certifications, read countless books, and attended workshops across the country. Her spiritual resume was impressive, but her life remained unchanged. She still struggled with anxiety, health issues, and financial instability. One day she heard Joel's teaching about fruits. She realized she had been collecting spiritual concepts without demonstration. Elizabeth made a radical decision. She stopped all her spiritual activities for 1 month. She created a simple test. She would only continue practices that had produced actual fruits in her life. She wrote down specific results she needed: freedom from anxiety attacks that occurred weekly, healing of chronic digestive issues, improvement in her struggling business. Then she evaluated each spiritual practice honestly. Had any of them delivered these fruits? The results shocked her. Most of her practices produced nothing measurable. They felt good temporarily, but changed nothing permanently. Only one simple technique had ever produced actual results. When she practiced the presence of God throughout her day, things shifted, not through begging or petitioning, but through recognizing divine presence already here. This single practice had occasionally brought her peace and solutions. She decided to commit to this alone for 3 months. Within 6 weeks, Elizabeth's life began demonstrating fruits. Her anxiety attacks decreased from weekly to monthly. Her digestive issues improved significantly. A new client appeared who doubled her business income. These were not coincidences. They were fruits of consistent spiritual practice. She had stopped scattering her energy across multiple teachings. She focused on what actually worked. Joel's principle had given her permission to be spiritually practical rather than spiritually impressive. Elizabeth's transformation continued over the following year. She stopped attending workshops that left her unchanged. She released spiritual friendships based on mutual confusion. She simplified her practice to what demonstrated power. Her friends noticed the change. They asked what new teaching she had found. She laughed and said she had not found anything new. She had finally committed to what actually produced fruits. This was Joel's wisdom in action. The most profound shift was internal. Elizabeth stopped feeling guilty about her spiritual journey. She realized she had been loyal to teachings that were not loyal to her. They had promised transformation but delivered only concepts. Now she measured everything by fruits. Did this practice bring peace? Did this teaching produce healing? Did this teacher demonstrate what they taught? These simple questions revolutionized her path. She became free to pursue genuine spiritual power rather than spiritual appearances. Another powerful example involved Robert, a meditation teacher who had studied Eastern practices for 20 years. He taught mindfulness to corporate groups and led meditation retreats. His students appreciated his knowledge and presence, but Robert privately struggled with the same issues he had before. Meditation. He still experienced intense anger, judgmental thoughts, and relationship conflicts. He wondered why 2 decades of practice had not produced the fruits he taught about. Robert encountered Joel's teaching during a difficult period. His marriage was failing despite years of Ku's meditation. His anger had recently erupted at a retreat, embarrassing him professionally. He realized he had become an expert in meditation techniques but had not experienced transformation. Joel's words hit him directly. By their fruits you shall know them. What fruits had his practice actually produced? He had knowledge, teaching skills, and a meditation routine. but he lacked the peace, love, and wisdom he promised his students. This honest evaluation transformed Robert's approach. He stopped teaching temporarily to focus on genuine practice. He applied Joel's mystical principles about recognizing God's presence rather than seeking experiences. Within months, something shifted. His anger began dissolving not through suppression but through spiritual realization. His relationships improved naturally. When he returned to teaching, his students noticed immediately. He now taught from demonstration rather than information. His fruits had finally appeared because he had changed his tree. The pattern in these stories reveals Joel's profound insight. Spiritual practice without fruits is religious entertainment. It keeps you busy but produces no transformation. Many people prefer this because genuine spiritual work requires honesty. It demands you admit what is not working. It asks you to release cherished beliefs that produce no results. But those willing to apply this test discover incredible freedom. They stop defending fruitless practices and start demonstrating spiritual power. Joel taught that the universe supports truth with demonstration. When you align with genuine spiritual principle, fruits appear naturally, not because you earn them through effort, but because you have removed the barriers to divine expression. The fruits are proof you have touched reality. They confirm you are no longer lost in spiritual concepts. You have found the actual presence and power that Jesus, Buddha, and all general you and mystics demonstrated. This is available to everyone willing to be honest about their fruits. If these transformation stories inspire you, like this video to help others find these teachings. Subscribe for more Joel Goldsmith wisdom and comment. Which story resonated most deeply with your own spiritual journey? Joel revealed that many spiritual seekers confuse activity with fruits. They attend services regularly, pray daily, read scripture, and participate in spiritual community. They assume this activity proves their spiritual progress. But Joel asks the disturbing question, has your consciousness actually changed? Do you experience more peace, less fear, greater love, or are you simply busier with religious routines? Activity is not fruit. Transformation is fruit. This distinction transforms how you approach spiritual practice. You stop measuring your progress by how much you do. You measure by what changes in your actual experience. A person might meditate 3 hours daily but remain anxious and controlling. Another person might practice presence for 10 minutes but demonstrate increasing peace and wisdom. The second person is bearing fruit. The first person is performing spiritual athleticism. Joel taught us to value transformation over discipline. The practical application is immediate. Examine your current spiritual practices honestly. Which ones have produced measurable change in your consciousness? Which ones have healed your relationships, dissolved your fears, or brought genuine peace? Keep those. Now identify practices you maintain from habit, guilt, or spiritual ambition. These produce no fruits but consume your time and energy. Joel would say, release them without guilt. Spiritual freedom means pursuing what actually works. Joel taught a complementary principle about recognizing fruits in others. When seeking spiritual guidance, ignore credentials and reputation. Look only at demonstrated fruits in the teacher's life and students' lives. Does the teacher embody the peace they teach? Do their students show actual transformation or just spiritual vocabulary? A teacher might have advanced degrees in theology but demonstrate no healing power. Another might have no formal training but consistently help others experience genuine breakthroughs. This teaching protects you from false teachers. Charismatic speakers attract large followings. They tell people what they want to hear. They promise easy transformation and guaranteed results. But their students remain unchanged year after year. Joel taught that words without fruits are just noise. True teachers produce students who demonstrate increasing spiritual power, not dependence on the teacher, but growing ability to recognize and rely on divine presence directly. The standard works equally for evaluating spiritual communities. A church might have beautiful facilities and inspiring music, but do members demonstrate the fruits of spirit? Do they show increasing love, decreasing judgment, growing peace? Or do they remain petty, fearful, and divided? Joel would say, the building reveals nothing. The fruits reveal everything. Find the community where people actually transform. That is where genuine spiritual teaching operates. Joel shared a powerful technique for accelerating your fruits. He called it the practice of recognition. Throughout your day, pause and recognize God's presence right where you are. Not someday in heaven, not after you become worthy, but now in this moment exactly as you are. This simple recognition shifts your consciousness from seeking to finding, from begging to receiving, from trying to allowing. The fruits appear because you have stopped blocking them with spiritual effort. Amanda discovered this after years of complicated spiritual practice. She had mantras, visualizations, affirmations, and elaborate morning routines. Despite all this effort, her life remained difficult. When she learned Joel's recognition practice, she simplified everything. Walking to her car, she recognized God's presence. Making coffee, she recognized divine wisdom. During stressful work meetings, she quietly recognized infinite peace right there. No drama, no effort, just recognition. Within 3 weeks, Amanda noticed fruits appearing. Solutions to problems came effortlessly. Difficult people suddenly became cooperative. Her chronic anxiety began dissolving. She had not added more spiritual practice. She had subtracted complexity and added recognition. Joel taught that God's presence is already here, already perfect, already meeting every need. We do not create it through practice, we recognize it through awareness. Recognition is the practice that produces immediate fruits because it acknowledges what already is. The recognition practice works because it shifts you from doing to being. Most spiritual practice involves doing something to achieve a result, doing meditation to gain peace, doing prayer to receive healing, doing affirmations to create abundance. But Joel taught that God's perfection already exists complete. Your job is not to create it, but to recognize it. This subtle shift changes everything. You stop striving and start perceiving. You stop becoming and start being. The fruits appear naturally. Joel gave specific instructions for recognition. Do not try to feel anything special. Do not wait for dramatic experiences. Simply acknowledge the truth. God is present here now. Divine intelligence is operating. Infinite supply is available. Perfect love is the reality. These recognitions are not hopes or wishes. They are acknowledgments of spiritual truth. As you practice recognition consistently, your consciousness gradually aligns with these truths. Your experience begins reflecting what you recognize rather than what you fear. The fruits of recognition practice are both immediate and cumulative. Immediately, you experience moments of peace amidst chaos. You find yourself guided to right action. You notice needs being met in unexpected ways. Cumulatively, over weeks and months, your entire life transforms. Fear becomes less dominant. Love becomes more natural. Problems that once overwhelmed you now resolve easily. These fruits confirm you are practicing true spirituality, not just spiritual concepts. By their fruits you shall know them, and recognition produces abundant fruits. Joel acknowledged that many seekers face a common obstacle. They begin practicing with enthusiasm but stop when fruits do not appear immediately. They try recognition for a few days and expect complete life transformation. When results seem slow, they conclude the practice does not work. They return to complicated techniques or abandon spiritual practice altogether. Joel taught that understanding spiritual timing prevents this mistake. Fruits appear according to consciousness, not calendar. Think of planting an apple tree. You do not plant the seed today and expect apples tomorrow. You water, nurture, and protect the young tree. Seasons pass. The tree grows roots, develops strength, and matures. Eventually, at the right time, fruit appears. Then it produces abundantly year after year. Spiritual practice works the same way. Your consciousness is the tree. Recognition is the nourishment. Fruits appear when your consciousness has matured sufficiently. Patience and persistence matter enormously. Christopher learned this lesson through frustration. He practiced recognition for 2 weeks with no visible results. He felt discouraged and considered quitting. Then he remembered Joel's teaching about the tree. He decided to continue for 3 months. Regardless of apparent results, he recognized God's presence dozens of times daily without demanding immediate proof. He trusted the principle even when experience had not caught up. This decision changed everything because it demonstrated faith in spiritual law. rather than dependence on immediate validation. Around week 5, Christopher noticed subtle shifts. A chronic back pain that had lasted months suddenly disappeared. A difficult co-worker who had made his job miserable transferred to another department. His wife commented that he seemed more peaceful and present. These were small fruits, but they were real. By week 8, larger fruits appeared. A job opportunity he had pursued for years suddenly opened. His relationship with his teenage son improved dramatically. His anxiety about finances dissolved, even though circumstances had not changed significantly. By month 3, Christopher's life had transformed noticeably. The practice of recognition had become natural rather than forced. He no longer practiced to get results. He practiced because he genuinely perceived God's presence. The fruits continued appearing. But now he understood something profound. The fruits were not rewards for practice. They were natural expressions of shifted consciousness. His tree had matured. The fruits were inevitable because the tree was healthy. This is exactly what Joel taught about spiritual demonstration. The key lesson Christopher learned was about consistency despite appearance. Fruits often develop invisibly before they manifest visibly. Roots grow underground before branches appear above. Spiritual transformation happens in consciousness before it appears in circumstances. If you judge too quickly, you abandon practice right before breakthrough. Joel taught that steady recognition over weeks and months produces inevitable fruits, not because you earned them, but because you aligned with spiritual law. Trust the process even when results seem delayed. Another common obstacle involves misidentifying fruits. Nicole practiced recognition faithfully for months. She felt peaceful and centered. Her meditation deepened. She experienced beautiful spiritual insights. But her difficult marriage remained unchanged. Her financial struggles continued. She wondered if she was bearing fruit or just having pleasant spiritual experiences. This confusion troubled her. Joel's teaching provided clarity. Inner peace is a fruit, but it should eventually produce outer fruits as well. Joel taught that genuine spiritual fruits move from invisible to visible. First, your consciousness changes. You experience more peace, less reactivity, deeper wisdom. These are initial fruits. But consciousness is cause. Eventually, cause produces effect. Changed consciousness must produce changed circumstances. Not instantly, not magically, but progressively. If your practice produces only inner experiences without any outer improvement over many months, something needs adjustment. Either your understanding or your practice requires refinement. Nicole realized she had been using recognition to escape her problems rather than transform them. She recognized God's presence during meditation but forgot it during conflict with her husband. She practiced in quiet moments but abandoned it during financial stress. Joel taught that recognition must extend into your challenges, not just your comfort. Nicole began recognizing divine presence specifically during arguments, specifically when money worried her, specifically in her difficult situations. This shift changed everything. Her practice became practical rather than escapist. The outer fruits began appearing because her recognition had become consistent. The pattern in these obstacles reveals Joel's profound practical wisdom. Spiritual practice fails when it becomes separate from daily life. You cannot meditate in the morning and forget God all day. You cannot recognize divine presence on Sunday but live in fear Monday through Saturday. Joel taught that consciousness is constant. Whatever you hold in consciousness consistently will demonstrate in experience eventually. The fruits appear when your recognition becomes your natural state rather than your occasional practice. This teaching eliminates spiritual compartmentalization. Many people have their spiritual life and their real life. They pray, then worry. They meditate, then manipulate. They affirm abundance, then obsess about lack. Joel would say, "You are planting and uprooting the tree simultaneously. No wonder fruits do not appear." Consistent consciousness produces consistent fruits. Inconsistent consciousness produces confusion. Your work is to make recognition so natural that it operates automatically. Regardless of circumstances, then fruits become inevitable. If these obstacle-breaking techniques speak to your heart, like to support this transformative content, Subscribe for more advanced spiritual practices and comment which challenge you are ready to transform right now in your spiritual journey. Joel taught an advanced application of recognizing fruits in every area of life. He called it the fruit inventory. Systematically examine each life domain, your health, relationships, finances, career, and peace of mind. For each area, ask honestly what fruits your current consciousness has produced, not what you hope for or intend, what has actually appeared. This inventory reveals where your consciousness truly operates versus where you merely hold concepts. The truth sets you free to adjust your practice. Daniel performed this inventory and discovered shocking patterns. In his career, he demonstrated consistent fruits. His recognition practice had produced promotions, opportunities, and professional success. But in relationships, he showed no fruits. He had practiced for years, yet his connections remained shallow and difficult. His health showed mixed fruits. Some issues had healed, others persisted. This honest assessment revealed that his recognition was strong in career consciousness but weak in relationship and health consciousness. He needed targeted practice in those areas. The solution involved specific recognition work. Daniel began recognizing divine love operating in every relationship interaction, not generally but specifically before difficult conversations, during conflicts, when feeling lonely. He recognized perfect health as spiritual truth while addressing physical symptoms practically. He was not denying his challenges, he was bringing consistent recognition to areas where his consciousness had been inconsistent. This targeted approach produced targeted fruits within weeks. His relationships improved measurably. His persistent health issue began resolving. The fruit inventory had revealed exactly where his work needed focus. Joel also taught about recognizing fruits and apparent failures. Sometimes what looks like lack of fruit is actually preparation for greater fruit. Catherine practiced recognition for 6 months. Her financial situation had not improved. In fact, she had lost her job. She questioned whether the practice worked. Then she recognized something profound. During this difficult period, she had demonstrated unprecedented peace. She had not panicked. She had trusted deeply. She had recognized God's presence through the uncertainty. These were significant fruits, though not the ones she expected. 3 months later, Catherine understood fully. The job loss had forced her to examine her career path. She had been miserable in that job for years, but too afraid to leave. Through consistent recognition practice during unemployment, she gained clarity about her true calling. She started a small business aligned with her passion. Within a year, her income exceeded her previous salary. She worked fewer hours with greater fulfillment. The apparent lack of fruit had been preparation for fruit beyond her imagination. This teaching transforms how you interpret your journey. Sometimes recognition produces fruits quickly. Sometimes it produces inner transformation first, outer demonstration later. Sometimes it removes obstacles by removing situations that were never meant for you. Joel taught that consistent recognition always produces fruits, but wisdom does not dictate the form or timing. Trust the principle. Your work is faithful recognition. The universe's work is demonstration. Surrender control while maintaining practice. The fruits will come in forms that serve your highest good, not just your immediate preferences. An advanced integration technique Joel shared involves recognizing fruits to strengthen consciousness. When fruits appear, acknowledge them as proof of spiritual law, not luck, coincidence, or chance, but demonstration of the principle you are practicing. This acknowledgement deepens your consciousness and produces more fruits. Many people experience breakthroughs, but dismiss them as random. They miss the opportunity to let fruits strengthen their spiritual conviction. Joel taught that recognized fruits produce more fruits. Benjamin practiced this meticulously. When his recognition practice produced a fruit, he paused to acknowledge it. A conflict resolved peacefully. He recognized this as a demonstration of divine presence. A needed sum of money appeared. He acknowledged this as proof of infinite supply operating. His anxiety about a situation dissolved. He recognized this as evidence of perfect peace available now. These acknowledgments were not ego celebration. They were consciousness reinforcement. Each acknowledgement deepened his conviction that the principle works. Over time, Benjamin's consciousness became unshakable. He had accumulated so much evidence of fruits that doubt became impossible. His recognition practice operated from certainty rather than hope. This certainty produced even greater fruits, because consciousness free from doubt demonstrates more powerfully. Joel taught that spiritual conviction grows through recognized demonstration. Doubt decreases as fruits accumulate. Eventually, you reach a tipping point where you know absolutely that recognition produces fruits. From that consciousness, demonstration becomes natural and continuous. You have become the fruitful tree. Joel warned against one final trap in advanced practice: spiritual pride about your fruits. When demonstration occurs regularly, ego can claim credit. You might begin thinking you have mastered spiritual law. You might feel superior to others who struggle. This pride immediately stops the flow of fruits because you have shifted from recognizing God's presence to celebrating your achievement. Joel taught that humility maintains the fruits. You are not the source. You are the recognition point where source demonstrates. Melissa encountered this trap after a year of powerful demonstrations. Her practice had produced healing, abundance, and remarkable peace. Friends sought her guidance. She began teaching others about recognition. Then her fruit stopped appearing. Problems returned. Her peace disappeared. She could not understand what changed. She was practicing the same technique, but Joel's teaching revealed the issue. She had begun taking credit for the fruits. Her consciousness had shifted from recognition of God to pride in her spiritual accomplishment. The core action required deep humility. Melissa acknowledged that every fruit came from divine presence, not her practice. Her practice simply removed the barriers to what already existed perfectly. She was not creating anything. She was allowing demonstration of what always is. This humble recognition restored the flow immediately. The fruits reappeared because her consciousness had returned to truth. She could teach and share and celebrate fruits, but always acknowledging the source. By their fruits you shall know them, and sustained fruits require sustained humility about who produces them. As we approach the culmination of Joel's teaching, recognize what you now understand. By their fruits you shall know them is not about judging others. It is the ultimate practical tool for your own spiritual journey. You now know to evaluate every teaching, practice, and teacher by demonstrated fruits. You know to be patient while fruits develop, but honest when they never appear. You know to recognize fruits when they come, and let them strengthen your consciousness. This wisdom eliminates spiritual confusion and establishes you in what actually works. The transformation this teaching produces is profound. You stop being a spiritual consumer collecting concepts. You become a spiritual demonstrator producing fruits. You stop defending beliefs that produce nothing. You start proving principles that produce everything. You stop judging your progress by activity. You start measuring by actual change in consciousness and circumstances. This shift moves you from religious entertainment to genuine spiritual power. You join the lineage of mystics who demonstrated rather than merely discussed divine presence. Joel taught that a life bearing consistent fruits becomes a light to others not through preaching or convincing but through demonstration. When people see genuine peace in chaos, real healing of disease, actual abundance despite economic conditions, and true love in difficult relationships, they recognize authentic spirituality. Your fruits become your message. Your transformed life becomes your teaching. You do not need credentials or platforms. You need only fruits. By your fruits they shall know you practice real spirituality. The question now is about your immediate application. You understand the principle intellectually, but understanding produces no fruits. Only practice produces fruits. Choose one specific area where you want to see fruits. Perhaps health, relationships, peace of mind, or finances. Commit to consistent recognition in that area for 90 days. Not complicated practices. Simply recognize God's presence, divine intelligence operating, spiritual perfection already complete. Do this dozens of times daily in that specific area. Then watch for fruits. Keep a simple journal of this experiment. Note the date you begin serious practice. Record moments when you remember to recognize. Write down any changes you observe, small or large. Do not judge too quickly. Let the tree grow, but also be ruthlessly honest. If 90 days pass with absolutely no fruits, neither inner peace nor outer change, then adjust your understanding or practice. something needs refinement. Joel gave you permission to be scientific about spirituality. Test everything. Hold fast to what produces fruits. The fruits you produce through this experiment will change your life forever, not because they solve all your problems, but because they prove spiritual principle works. Once you have proof through personal demonstration, doubt ends. You know from experience that recognition produces fruits. That knowing becomes the foundation for ever-increasing demonstration. You graduate from hoping spirituality works to knowing it works. This knowing is consciousness, and consciousness is cause. From that cause, fruits appear naturally, continuously, abundantly. Joel's final wisdom about fruits addresses the ultimate fruit. The greatest fruit of spiritual practice is not healing, abundance, or peace. Though all these may appear, the ultimate fruit is transformation of identity. You stop seeing yourself as a human seeking God. You recognize yourself as consciousness in which God appears. This shift is so profound that everything else becomes secondary. When you know your true identity, fruits flow effortlessly because you recognize them as your natural expression. This transformation happened to Jessica after 2 years of consistent practice. She had experienced many fruits. Her health improved, her relationships deepened, her financial stress dissolved. But one morning during recognition practice, something shifted. Fundamentally, she realized she was not Jessica practicing to know God. She was consciousness itself recognizing its own infinite nature. Jessica was the appearance. Consciousness was the reality. This recognition changed everything permanently. She no longer practiced to get fruits. She practiced from the recognition that she was the tree and fruits were her nature. From this consciousness, Jessica's life demonstrated continuous fruits without effort or strain. Problems that would have stressed her before resolved effortlessly. Needs were met before she consciously recognized them. She radiated peace that affected everyone around her. This was not superiority or perfection. It was natural expression of transformed identity. Joel taught that this is the goal of all spiritual practice. Not better human life, though that occurs, but recognition of what you truly are. By your fruits you shall know you have awakened to your spiritual identity. You now hold Joel Goldsmith's complete teaching on spiritual fruits. You understand that fruits reveal truth. You know to evaluate everything by demonstrated results. You have learned patience, while fruits develop, and honesty when they do not appear. You have discovered that recognition produces fruits and humility maintains them. Most importantly, you understand that you are not seeking fruits from outside yourself. You are the tree, and fruits are your natural expression when consciousness recognizes its true nature. Begin today. Choose your focus area. Practice consistent recognition. Be patient but honest. Watch for fruits and acknowledge them. Let each demonstration strengthen your conviction. Allow weeks and months for your tree to mature, but never doubt the principle. By their fruits you shall know them is not poetic metaphor. It is spiritual law. Every master has proven it. Now clear as throat, you must prove it through your own demonstration. Not to convince others, but to establish yourself in certainty. Your transformed life awaits. Not someday when you become worthy. Not in some future incarnation. Now as you recognize what already is. God's presence here. Divine intelligence operating, infinite supply available. Perfect love expressing. These are not hopes, they are recognitions of truth. Practice them faithfully. The fruits will come. They must come because spiritual law is reliable. You are the tree. Recognition is the nourishment. Fruits are inevitable. If your spiritual understanding expanded through these Joel Goldsmith secrets, like this video, subscribe for more transformative teachings, and comment "I am transformed" to confirm your commitment to producing spiritual fruits in your life. Thanks for watching.